Hello, everyone. I'm Ellie from Nourishment Redacted, and welcome to Lioness Lifestyle Live. This is a show where we honor a keto, carnivore, or a meat-based woman. They share their experience, their healing journey to inspire and bring our community together.
And hey there, everyone. I am Cristie from Meeting Wellness. And as always, it's wonderful to meet with all of you this evening. That pun just never gets old. I don't care how many times I say it. And we have all been inspired by someone's story. We believe that sharing these stories is one of the very best ways to help people who are out there sick and without hope.
And I am not Adrian from Adrian K. Glenhill, but if you... Thank you so much for joining us tonight. She'll be on very, very soon. She's just running a bit late, which is totally fine. We've all been inspired by someone. Nope, that's your line.
That's my line.
We want this place to be a place where we lift each other up and show that healing through diet is possible. So get those questions ready because you're going to love our guest tonight. Use a QQQ or question mark. If you're confused, read the banner.
I am so excited for this guest. This is not in the script. I'm going off script because you guys, I watch her channel. She's backstage laughing right now. I can see her. And I am so excited because her channel that she does with her husband is wonderful. And I am very thrilled to have her on tonight. But before we can get to that, it is time for this week's Roar of the Week. Okay, you know I had to pick this one. So this one says, Cristie, how do you cook your picanha? Thanks, ladies, for a great video. See, there was a thanks, ladies, for a great video. But thank you so much, Better Barbie 8665. I did answer Better Barbie on how I cook my picanha. So if you want to see that, go back and check out last week's episode. She made that comment and I picked it out and my answer is right there on how I cook my picanha. If you want to be shouted out on next week's show, Ellie, we have a pixel sighting. If you want to be shouted out on next week's show, just go ahead and leave us a comment. Sometimes we'll even pick one from during the live show, but definitely after the show, down below, leave us a comment and we'll pick someone out to shout out for next week's Roar of the Week.
Okay, without further ado, let's welcome JJ from the JJ and Eric Carnivore channel. Hello. Welcome,
hello.
Thank you so much for being on the show. Please share with us who you are, your health journey, all the way finding a carnivore lifestyle. We'd love to get to know you.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. This is my first solo carnivore interview. As you mentioned, I usually appear on camera with my husband in our YouTube channel, and that's been a lot of fun. So I'm so excited to be here just with the ladies tonight, the lionesses. Yes. So Eric and I always joke that sometimes I have a tendency to go back to the beginning of time when I tell a story. And I'm kind of going to do that tonight.
Please do. That's what we do here. All the way back.
Good.
Time.
Because I'm taking us back about 20 years. I'm currently 54. So here I am 20 years ago. I'm in my mid 30s and I have a young daughter. And the journey to get her wasn't horrible, but it wasn't smooth either. I'd had some uterine fibroids leading into that pregnancy. I had a miscarriage and then eventually did have a successful pregnancy. But by this time, I've got my daughter. I'm married. I've got everything looks good in my life. I own a dance studio, which is really cool. I've owned that for a while. And yet my day-to-day life really stinks. So basically, I am waking myself up in the morning, dragging myself out of bed. Usually I have a headache that I've maybe had for 4 or 5 days or so. And Eric, our paths cross in the kitchen and he's like, good morning. And I'm like, what's good about it, right? So I'm just barely dragging myself out of bed, trying to get ready before my daughter wakes up and I've got to take her to preschool. So I'm getting myself ready, get the kid up, husband goes off to work. I'm getting the kid ready, take her to preschool. I get back. And like I said, I owned a dance studio at this time. So my work day wouldn't start until the kids were off of school. So I'd get to the studio at about 3:30 in the afternoon. But during the day, it was time to do choreography. If we were doing a recital, I was doing the music editing, the creation of the program, all the stuff during the day. I had a full office job during the day for the dance studio. But I'd get home from dropping off my daughter at school. This was my prime work time. And I'd sit down in the computer and I'd be working. And I'd look up at the clock and it would have been 5 minutes past. 10 minutes past. 15 minutes past. And I would feel like I just had to go right back to bed. And so I would. So I'd been up a couple hours. I would take my first nap of the day. So I'd go to sleep. I'd set my alarm to get me up to pick up my daughter from preschool. She went for a half a day at this point. And so my alarm would go off, and the first thing I would grab is a Coca-Cola, because the Coca-Cola would give me enough focus, mental clarity, and sharpness to make the drive to go get her from school and get back home. So I'd slam the Coke, drive, pick up my daughter, bring her home, have a little time with her. And at this time, I did own my dance studio, but I was also studying to be a life coach. And it was a pretty intensive 2-year program. So studying to be my life coach, and I would try to schedule, we would be mentored. You know how doctors do like a residency? We would do the same thing with clients, or a similar thing, obviously not a doctor residency, but a similar thing. And we had a mentor. So I would try to schedule my mentor appointments for when my daughter was laying down for her nap. But here's the thing. That meant that my second nap of the day wasn't going to happen. So I put my daughter down for her nap. I get on my mentor call. This is a day I remember really distinctly. Got done with my mentor call and my daughter was still sleeping. I could lay down for a few minutes. So I laid down, got a few winks, second nap of the day, because at this point I was doing 2 naps a day, sleeping all night, 2 naps a day. And so I fall asleep, get a few winks. My alarm goes off. I hit snooze. The alarm goes off again. Now I've got to get up. I've got to get the kid ready and we have got to head to that dance studio. And of course I arrive a few minutes late. That darn snooze button. So I arrive a few minutes late. It's a teenage class. And so one of the teenagers has a key to get in the studio. So they've let themselves in. They're on the floor stretching as they should be doing. But I walk in and I catch a look, like one of those teenage girl looks. And I'm like, oh no. Because I have to say, this is not the first time I've been late at this point. And let me point out, this is not like me at all. This is not like me. I have always been the type of person who's sort of the go-getter, achiever, enthusiastic type person. So for me to be taking 2 naps, sleeping through the day, dragging myself through the day, and coming late, I'm a good Midwestern hardworking girl. So going late somewhere, that's not me either. But it's been happening more and more lately. And this teenager kind of rolls her eyes at me and that's it. I snap. And I begin to lecture those teenagers. Not like me. And I'm telling them, if you can't at least be nice to me, be kind to me, you should respect me for all I've been through. And I go through my whole life story with them. And they're just sitting there. Oh my gosh. Now, I've been working with kids for 30 years now. And this is like one of my worst moments working with kids. I get done with that class and I am so ashamed of my reaction. And again, going, oh my gosh, I can't believe where I am. I just told these teenagers about all my struggles in life. And I realized in that moment, I'm in life coach training school. And I realize that my everyday life has become an absolute struggle. I'm dragging myself through the days. I have low energy, no energy. I have a really poor mood. I'm dealing with bouts of depression. Clearly, I'm having mood issues. Things are not good. From the outside, they may look fine. The inside, they are not good. So the reason I remember this day really distinctly is that I had to grab dinner after my stint at the dance studio. So I stopped at a Jimmy John's and I'm waiting for my sub to be made. And all of a sudden, we've got one of those community bulletin boards behind me, and a card drops to the floor. And I pick it up because, again, I'm a good girl, and I'm going to put that back up on the bulletin board. And it's an advertisement for a naturopath. Now, I live in small town Wisconsin. Sure, we've got Milwaukee 45 minutes away, but I live in small town Milwaukee, or small town Wisconsin, small town Jimmy John's. So there are no naturopaths, but there is one right now in this town I'm in. So the next day I call, because so far I've been to all my doctors. I have talked to them about my issues, and basically they've told me this is absolutely normal for someone in her mid-30s. This is perimenopause. And I'm going, how could this be possibly normal when I can't function and I see other 30-somethings going to work all day? Like, I could not have held down an office job that was outside of my home at all. So I get in touch with the naturopath, and this is a really key part of my story, because this, even though this isn't the start of Carnivore, this is the beginning of me understanding how nutrition can affect our body. Because the naturopath runs all these tests on me and finds out, number one, I'm gluten intolerant, probably celiac. And number two, I have very bad adrenal fatigue. So this adrenal fatigue explains why I started having chronic insomnia when I was 15 years old. It explained the mood issues I had, the energy issues, the fibroids. The doctor explained the entire hormonal cascade to me, and I understood my life in this whole new light. And everything really became hormone-based for me at that point, about healing my hormones, repairing my hormones. And I did basically went off gluten, have not been on gluten for nearly 14 years now, and started a year-long healing journey back then of cleanses and changing my diet to a paleo diet. I was introduced to the paleo diet back then, and really starting to get my life back. And that's how I ushered in my 40s. So my 30s, I consider like this lost decade. And it's really unfortunate because that's the decade I had a young child and I couldn't be the mom or the wife that I wanted to be. But my 40s were better. And I didn't follow the paleo lifestyle my entire 40s, but at least we had that home base. And of course, we tried juicing, we tried smoothies, various health things. And as I progressed into my 40s, perimenopause seriously did start to happen. And while I never returned to those days in my 30s, I always describe it as a cliff. I could see that cliff of low energy, 2 naps a day in front of me. And sometimes I'd get really close to that cliff and maybe have a period of depression or lower energy, but I never got as bad as my 30s. I would always pull myself back through supplementation and dietary changes. So made it through my 40s. 40s were much better. Got a new doctor, a new hormone doctor. My naturopath did not last long in small town Wisconsin at that time, but they were around for about a year, and that's what I needed. So it was just, like I said, just felt like divine intervention for that. And then I found a new doctor in Milwaukee, in the big city, who did bioidentical hormones and approached things in a much more integrative fashion. And I explained that I was starting to experience some of those symptoms that I'd had earlier. And his very first appointment with him, he recommended that I start intermittent fasting. So he saw that I was having metabolic dysfunction. So while the naturopath introduced this whole hormonal cascade to me, I hadn't really, and I'd learned about how nutrition could affect my body. I hadn't really been introduced to this whole metabolic framework yet. So he introduced intermittent fasting, and I started doing that in July of 2022, which would have made me 51 at that point. And I started to see some results, but not a lot of results. Not a lot. And it also opened me up to the world of Dr. Jason Fung, who is one of the experts on fasting. So I started reading his books on obesity and diabetes, and I learned more about insulin. And again, I'd learned about this hormonal cascade, but insulin wasn't really explained to me back then and its role in the whole process. So I was like, okay, I need to lower my insulin. Well, here's where my husband comes in. He comes home that fall talking about how he's just listened to this podcast and we all need to eat more protein. Now, when I tell this story on our YouTube channel, I did an internal eye roll because he's the one who brought home the green smoothies and the juicing and all the things we've tried in the past that I didn't really stick to. He didn't really stick to. I didn't see a lot of results and they didn't seem sustainable. So I sort of rolled my eyes internally, but whatever. But wouldn't you know it, the day after he talks about protein and that we need more protein, I have Dr. Barry showing up on my YouTube feed. So I start watching this Dr. Barry and he's very entertaining, right? And at first I'm kind of just watching him for entertainment value. But if I look at the fact that I'm trying to lower my insulin through intermittent fasting and what I've learned from Dr. Fung, I've got my husband telling me, I think we need to eat more protein. Dr. Barry was like that piece of that flyer falling off that community bulletin board. And I was like, oh, okay. This is what I need to do. So I started Carnivore. It was end of October, 2022. And I did not tell Eric I was doing it. I didn't tell him at all that I was doing it. So meantime, by this time we were eating fairly paleo. Our dinners, which is what the meal that we ate together, consisted usually of some meat and a sweet potato. And then after dinner, we would have a keto treat that Eric would make. It was made of almond flour, chocolate chips. Like they started sugar-free chocolate chips, but then he started sneaking in the full sugar chocolate chips. So it was a fairly clean, but now that Carnivore, we know, holy cow, that was like an almond flour dump, right? Hello. But that's basically what we would have. And we sat watching TV. So I didn't eat the sweet potato. I made one for him. And we'd have our keto treat and that would be it. I was mostly meat-based at that point. Right away, I started seeing improvements in my allergies and my eyesight. I could not believe it. Like within a couple weeks, that started to happen. And lo and behold, I just kept going through the holidays into the new year. It took me 7 months before I lost any weight. I was carrying around about 30 extra pounds. So not severely overweight, but I definitely was overweight. And I started to notice these little changes and eventually started losing weight. But around the time I just had started to lose weight, Eric comes to me and he says, "You are aging in reverse. What are you doing?" And this is May of 2023. And I said, "Well, I'm eating mostly meat. I'm doing the carnivore diet." He's like, "You're kidding me." So then he jumped full on board. Now, he had been toying with it this whole time too. Here I was making him a sweet potato, and half the time he was not eating the sweet potato, and I didn't even notice. He was feeding it to the dog, who loved sweet potato, by the way. So here we were, somewhat doing carnivore in parallel, with neither one of us knowing that the other one was doing it. But he has more of a tendency to fall off the wagon, and he had. So after I said that I'd been doing it, and he saw the body recomposition results on me. Again, I hadn't really lost a lot of weight at this point, but my body was completely shaped differently. And I wasn't working out or anything. And I wasn't working out. I was scared of working out because I had adrenal fatigue and exercise intolerance. So by May of 2023, we were both on board, full steam ahead, the both of us. And then since then, like I said, I have lost 30 pounds. I have been able to reduce my thyroid medication. I've been able to reduce my hormone. I still am on bioidentical hormones, but my dosages have been about halved. So that's been amazing. Headaches. I never get headaches anymore. I was plagued with headaches from like age 12. Hello, hormonal. From like age 12 on. Like I said, my allergies reduced, almost non-existent. I had an ankle injury from a car accident in my early 20s that was paining me every day. I was beginning to consider whether I might need surgery before I got older. That pain is gone. My cellulite is gone. Holy cow. So, but most of all, my biggest result is why I told the story about 20 years ago, is that I have my life back. My brain works. I have energy. I have more energy than I have had in my entire adult life. And I haven't had any mental fog, depression issues since starting carnivore, and being able to move through the day, do all the things I want to do. My daughter's off at college, but I'm able to be a good wife, and we are just looking ahead to the future in a whole different way than seemed possible when I was 35, lying in bed, taking 2 naps a day and wondering why bother? Like I had no life energy at all. So let me bring up our channel in December then. So Eric and I jumped on board together in May of 2023. And in December of 2023, it was right before Christmas. And it was a lark. We were just chatting, and Eric's like, let's start a YouTube channel. And we did. We're like, okay. So we went downstairs and we started a YouTube channel like instantly. And so we've been doing that together, and that's a fun project for us as well. And we just keep going. And we so love having a community. Eric is a very well-known introvert. And so it's such a joy for us to have this community that we meet with in our live streams every Friday, and just getting to know people. And I'm excited to get to know you guys here tonight too.
What a great story. One of my first comments when you said how old you are is like, yay, Gen Xer like me. Cause I have these 2 younger ladies down here, my lionesses. Oh, wrong way. Ellie and Adrian. But yes. I love that you're a Gen Xer like me, and I can just relate to so much of what you said. But I want to start off by asking you, because those first 2 things, I don't think I've heard very much of that being the first things, the eyesight and the allergies. So as you can see, I wear glasses. I will say my eyesight hasn't gotten worse, because if you wear glasses, you tend to go to the eye doctor each year, and like each year they tend to have to like up that prescription a little bit. So my eyesight hasn't gotten better, but it also hasn't gotten worse, which is kind of nice.
So I do have to give the disclaimer that I never had glasses. I would go for, I shouldn't say I never wore glasses. I've gone for glasses, but I felt like my eyes changed so much from day to day that a prescription didn't work for me. It didn't. And again, I think was hormonal or so, I'm not sure, but my eyesight fluctuated so much. So I never had glasses, so I don't have a prescription that I can show you. Look, it improved, but now my eyesight is clear like my mind.
I love that. And I would love if you would tell us a little more about allergies, because that's also, it's not a major benefit, I would say, but I acquired allergies in my 30s randomly after never having them. And then when I went carnivore, it's like, oh, wait, I don't need allergy, because I would take allergy medicine or like nose spray or whatever for my allergies. And I stopped buying it because I'm like, oh, like, so it appeared in my 30s. And I was like, why? I never had this my whole life. It was very annoying. And then after going carnivore, I rarely have an allergy symptom.
It's so great. It's so wonderful. Yeah. Even though it's not a huge thing, it is such a big quality of life change. So I started with hay fever when I was 12 again. Everything points to 12 years old for me. And so I started with hay fever then. But what had happened is by the time I got into my 40s, my worst symptom of allergies were my eyes. They felt like they were burning out of my head all day, every day. They were so uncomfortable. There was no eye drop that would really do anything for them. And I got to the point where I had to be like, I could only put aloe vera on my face, which isn't bad. You know, in hindsight now, what do I do? What do I put on my face? I put on tallow and some aloe vera. But I couldn't use anything because it would just irritate my eyes and make them even worse. So to go through better eyesight and not have them burning out of my skull, it's great.
I always forget. Am I second? Hi, I'm Adrian. I'm sorry I was a little bit late. It's so nice to meet you. So how old are you now? Did you go right from adrenal fatigue to carnivore? And then the adrenal fatigue went away? I'm sorry I missed that.
No worries. I'm 54 right now. So okay. My 40s, I did not have the severe adrenal fatigue. I've got a really nice marker. I started seeing the naturopath. I gave up gluten when I was 40. So that year-long healing process was right when I turned 40. And then I had, pretty good relief through my 40s and then started carnivore when I was 51.
And I live in Superior, Wisconsin.
Oh, hey.
Hello, Wisconsinite. Are you coming to the Karen Miles meetup in June?
No. I haven't brought it up to Eric yet, but I want to. Are you going? Are you going?
I'm going. I'll be there.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
We've seen Karen a couple times, so she's great.
Awesome. I related a lot in the beginning of your story where you were talking about how you had to nap twice a day. And like you would like thank God and be like, oh, when the baby slept more. I was there. I felt like when I was at my worst health ever, I felt like all I wanted to do was sleep. And that's including like 10 hours a night, maybe even more. And it was just like it's just insane. So I would love to hear any kind of message you have for maybe mothers with young children who feel like they're always stressed out, they're always struggling with energy, and it's not to drink a Coke like you used to do or chug coffee. Like, what do you think about diet and how that plays a role? And what would be a message to some mamas who are struggling right now?
So I know that a dietary change can feel really overwhelming when you're already stressed and depleted. And I really believe, even being a life coach, I believe that nutrition is the foundation of our health, of our happiness, of our vitality. So if they can just get over that hump, don't even think about it, just start doing it. Just start transitioning to more meat and take that step forward, because in just a few weeks, you're probably likely to notice the difference. So again, I know it feels overwhelming. It feels like another thing you have to do. You don't maybe feel like you have the energy to do. And it is so worth it. And going back in time, I just wish that I had known about this when my daughter was younger and I could have parented her. I think I was a good parent. I did, every parent does their best. And I just wish I could have taken her to the fair and not had to crash for 3 days afterwards. Yeah. So I want them to be inspired and look ahead and just take that step.
So we have a question from Nia, who is watching right now. And Nia would like to know, do you drink coffee or anything other than water?
It's so funny. I don't. Okay. So for a period of time, I craved coffee early in my carnivore journey. I was never a coffee drinker at all. And I started craving coffee. Now, I've heard some theories around that. I wish I could remember them exactly, but it's something maybe about the fat, the lipolysis or something. I don't know. So for a period of time, I drank coffee, cold brew. Now, not so much. I kind of went off it again. It just was this period of time. I'll occasionally grab one and be like, not good. Otherwise, I mostly drink water, sparkling water. I was drinking some iced tea for a while, but that's been I don't like how it's making my body feel now. So that's out of the picture. And I do drink some flavored electrolytes.
I was just going to ask, do you allow any sweeteners? And do you have any plans on reintroducing any foods?
So I like to say I eat mostly meat. I do have the occasional salad when I'm out, or if I'm at home, we're carnivore. When I go out, I might have that slice of tomato and lettuce on my burger patty type of thing. So I'm mostly meat-based. I would say 90%. I am very sensitive to when something does bother me. Goodness gracious, a few months ago, I tried a few bites of coleslaw that was on the plate, and that was not a good idea. So I have no formal plans of introducing, but I do really try to be conscious of what I eat. I stay mostly meat, and when I do have something, I notice those differences. There was a first part of that question, though, I think I missed. What was it?
Just if you were okay with sweetener, which you had said you drink a little bit of electrolyte, so you must be okay with a little bit.
I am okay with it. I've always tended to be more of a moderator. So literally when I was back drinking the Coca-Cola, I would have one a day. That was it. So I can have a little bit of sweetener. I did notice recently that if I had the sweetened electrolyte in the middle of the day, I could do that for a long time. I had it after lunch. I was fine. But then all of a sudden I noticed I was moving into foraging behavior. And so, right? So I dropped that midday electrolyte, and I have it. When I have it, it's not every night. I have it in the evening because I still fast and I close my window. There is no foraging in the evening. So, and I will have artificial sweetener on my birthday or a holiday. I will make something with an artificial sweetener. It does not throw me off the wagon.
Oh, that's so good to hear. I like to pretend to be a moderator, but with some things they're just like a major no. And I love that. I always say this, I'm a broken record, but I love carnivore because it shows you what your body can tolerate, what makes you feel your best. My question is, do you do any other what are they called, like life hacks that help promote your being? Like, do you wear like red light blockers or blue light blockers, or do you do grounding, or do you meditate, or do you pray? Like, are there anything else that you couple with carnivore?
Mm-hmm. So a few things. First of all, like I've mentioned, I am a life coach. So part of my life is always mindset based, no matter what. Having an intention and doing my acknowledgements, my gratitudes regularly. Like, I've got some pretty solid mindset habits for the last 15 years. Beyond that, I do meditate. That one's a little more, I need it at certain times of year, certain times of the year. I don't seem to need it. I always come back to it. Right now I'm in a meditation time. Spring seems to be that way for me. So, so I do meditate, and then I do the occasional grounding, I'm trying to get outside and get morning light in my eyes and also watch the sunset, trying to do that a little bit more regularly. And then the big thing is that my husband and I, in the midst of becoming carnivore, we also bought a property that has a large parcel of land. It used to be a tree farm. And so we're just very active outside in nature, taking care of the land, taking care of the trees, etc. So that has been a huge paradigm shift for us, that we totally align with carnivore, getting back into into nature much more.
Yeah, I don't get back into nature, but I get in my backyard and put my feet in the grass. That's about as much nature. I'm not a girl who likes to go out in nature, but man, grounding sure does feel good. I've been enjoying that for sure. You talked about your body kind of telling you when, oh, I ate that, would you say coleslaw? And nope, that was a no. That was a hard pass in the future on that one. Mm-hmm. I've noticed I get a lot stronger signals from my body also in positive ways. Like if I need fat, my body's like, go eat some butter. And It doesn't always sound good, but sometimes it's like, I just have this urge. Like sometimes when I make my son's eggs and I slice off butter, like I almost can't help it. Like I just want to eat that butter bite. And then other times it's like, I just don't even think to do it. Do you have any like positive signals like that your body gives you when it needs something?
The same type of thing is absolutely, I like to do little experiments at times with my eating. I just finished I'm finishing up a period of priming where I just felt like I was having a little hormonal hot flash situation, and I have reduced my hormones, so it made sense. And so I intentionally ate a little bit more and ate a little more fat this past month. So I will try intentional experiments like that. And I am also having times when I just go sort of intuitive like that. And I can so tell what I need, so tell what the body is craving. And it's so interesting because it used to crave sweets and it doesn't, again, a moderator, but I would crave sweets, especially with the adrenal fatigue. And now it is more of I definitely need to up my protein tomorrow, or for this meal even, or up my fat. I don't do a lot of tracking. I usually just listen to the body.
I was just going to ask, do you have to track?
No, yeah. It's been rare. I tracked, I don't know, a year and a half ago or so, just because I was, and things were going fine. I just was curious. I'd heard so much about under eating. I wanted to make sure that I was eating enough, and I was. And then I just tracked the last 2 days because I was curious how much, with the priming protocol I just did and adding a little more fat, I was just curious what my macros were. So I've probably tracked a total of 2 weeks in the last 2.5 years. And it's for just informational purposes, just sort of a double check. I always knew, ever since I went to that naturopath and found out about the hormone thing, I always knew that if I did a diet or a way of eating, it was going to have to be good for my hormones and also sustainable. And so I knew sustainable did not mean having to strictly track things for me. It wouldn't have worked long term.
Okay, cool. I can totally relate to that. I always think that it's like, I'm going to do intermittent fasting, and then I do it for a week, and then I'm like, okay, I'm done. It's really great when you can really listen to your body. My question is, since you're doing this with your husband, which is so cool, and I apologize if you said it in your life story already, but I was wondering, how does your family react to you being a carnivore? How is your daughter? Do you find any backlash? Do you have any tips for those who might be in this like weird situation where they're just eating meat now to heal themselves from the inside out? And now everyone's like pointing a finger at them and calling them, crazy, or you're going to get a heart attack. What do you think?
Yep. No, I'm so glad this is where he sits normally. I'm so glad that I don't have any opposition in our household, that we are on the same path, Eric and I. Now, my daughter thinks we're a little crazy. We did it mostly while she's been at college, but then eventually we had to come out of the carnivore closet, as I say, because we're recording. We could hide it no longer. So yeah, we started recording in December of 2023, and I think we got through her winter break doing it, but by spring break, I think we needed to let her know. So she thinks we're crazy. She is a very picky eater. She does appreciate that we're not what she calls the crazy TikTok carnivores. So, I do feel like she's a little more protein conscious though. So I'm happy about that. Otherwise, my birth family thinks I'm nuts. And they don't come out and say it. It's a little more veiled generally. They say sort of the little side comments, or we just had a holiday, and wouldn't you know, Easter. We just had Easter, and it was a pizza party, and I'm like, can I bring my own crust? So I made my own egg white based crust from Courtney Luna, or no, I don't know whose recipe it was, but I made my own crust, my own pizza, brought it over. It was a white pizza, delicious. But then the next day I got an article about how many mushrooms I should be eating for my antioxidants and health and cancer prevention. So I still get a little backlash from that side of the family. But the biggest thing I would say is for someone who's experiencing that, to just be the model, We can't convince anyone to do anything. And even though Eric was doing it partway without me and I was doing it without him, it was my results that made him go, wait a minute. I need to really take this seriously now because this is amazing. And when I see my birth family, while I still might get the article about the mushrooms the next day, they look at me and they're like, you just look like you're 25. Wow, you just look great. And I can see the cognitive dissonance in their like clouding their brains. So I think it's to be the model and to let your actions speak louder than your words. And again, eventually I did I kept it under wraps for a long time. And then eventually I was like, I need to thank you so much for making those gluten-free desserts for me all those years. And I don't need them anymore. So thank you.
Yeah, I just got a similar compliment from some family that I hadn't seen in forever, but then we saw them at Easter. Yeah, and they're like, you look fantastic. I'm like, I'm taking that for my non-scale victory for the day. Thank you, Pepanya.
Yeah.
You know. So we have a couple more questions, and they kind of piggyback on each other. Yes, I said Pecania. There's our banner. That's twice. That's twice in this episode. Okay, sorry. Pecania is my thing. If you don't know, JJ, that's my jam. It's my favorite cut.
Well, I'm going to go back and check out your recipes. So
yes, it's good. Okay, so these kind of piggyback. So I'm going to put them both up. So Nia's asking, do you eat a lot or a variety of meats or similar meals each day? And then piggybacking on that, Mike would like to know if you eat chicken.
Okay. So what I've noticed is if I go too long without eating beef, we just had a couple days last week where we didn't have beef. That's again, my body starts to crave beef. I'm not a lamb eater. It's beef for me. So we eat predominantly beef. However, I have been on a kick. Here's where the Courtney Luna comes in. I've been on a Courtney Luna kick for a couple of months where I've been having her fake Cobb salad, her carnivore Cobb salad, where it's bacon, chicken breast, blue cheese, hard-boiled egg, and then for the dressing, I use bacon grease and just a tiny drizzle of vinegar. Tiny drizzle. And I've been eating that for my first meal of the day and loving it. But now last week or so, I think I'm kind of done with that. And right now I'm craving ground beef for breakfast. So predominantly beef, but we do eat more. We do eat a variety of meats, not very often. When we started carnivore, though, we did do much more variety. We had pork tenderloins and chicken were in the weekly rotation with our beef. But now it just, sometimes we have the taste for it, but we just don't find it that satisfying. It's like those old jokes about eating Chinese and you're hungry an hour later. That's what we find when we eat other cuts of meat.
You mentioned that you lost, did you say 30 pounds? Did it just kind of whoosh off, or was it in clumps? Did you have to join a group?
Good question. So I was the turtle as far as weight loss. So it took me 7 months to start losing weight. And then I lost about 0.5 pound a week. So it was slow, but it was steady. And weight loss was a goal for me, but it was that mental health energy that was my primary focus. So I kept focused on all those non-scale victories. I didn't worry about weight. I figured that when my body was healed, it would release the weight at the rate it released it. And so I didn't stress about that at all, but it was a very slow, steady process for me.
That's good. That's good. I love hearing that. We definitely, I wouldn't want anyone to struggle with weight, because I feel like that is just such a hot topic lately, especially in my world right now, with a little bit of a struggle. So I'm glad you didn't experience that. My question is, I find that when you start eating carnivore, it makes you obviously more aware of like ingredients in food, right? And so I was wondering, does it make you more conscious about like your soap and your cleaning products and like what you put on your body or use around your house? Like, do you use scented candles, like that kind of thing? Are you more aware of that now, or try to change that if you haven't already?
Yeah, we already had some awareness around that. So scented candles we don't really use. And our cleaning products have been fairly clean cleaning products for a while now. But what I put on my body was the big shift since I went carnivore. It was hard for me to reconcile nourishing my body on the inside and not on the outside. So I really do use pretty much tallow on my skin. A little aloe. I've been playing with a little aloe vera the last few weeks, added to my tallow, loving it, by the way. I do wear a little bit of makeup now that I can. Sometimes I have blonde eyelashes, so I do like to wear a little bit of mascara. So I try to find the cleanest makeup I can use. Now, what's interesting though is I didn't mention this. I also my skin was getting more uneven, more rosacea-ish as I got older as well. And back when my eyes were burning out of my head, I could not wear anything to smooth out that skin tone. And now my skin tone has also improved on carnivore. So I don't really need much smoothing out anyways. So I will occasionally use a little bit of powder, but that's about it.
Okay, so can you tell us what is a typical day of eating? You've mentioned intermittent fasting. You've talked about meals. Like, how many meals do you eat? Where is your eating window and fasting window typically, or do you switch that up? And what is your favorite cut of beef? Since you said beef is your go-to meat.
Yes. So, as far as my typical day, it does shift up a little bit. I experienced a period, when I got to 30 pounds lost, I got hungry again. And so I expanded my window to 8 hours, from 6 hours to 8 hours. And so I generally start eating mid-morning. If I do a 6 hour, I'm about to move into a 6 hour window in May, just because I've been priming for April. So I do want to just tighten it a little bit. And so that I'll start eating around 11, stop at 5. We have found, Eric has had lifelong sleep issues. And he has found that if he is done eating by 5 p.m., he sleeps. And he has tried every sleep hack there has ever been since the dawn of time. And that has been what's worked for him. So my eating window, we're usually done by 5, sometimes a little bit earlier in the winter when it's darker. And I eat generally 2 meals a day. The first one has been the Courtney Luna Cobb salad, or I have been loving ground beef cold. And I just started eating that a couple months ago. I saw a video where someone was raving about that. And I was like, I can't imagine it, but I'll try it. And I'm like, hey, this is pretty good. So I break off a chunk of ground beef. So that's my morning. And then in the afternoon, or in the evening, our dunch, we call it, combination of dinner and lunch, we will usually have a strip steak. Like, probably 95% of the time it's a strip steak. And that is mine and Eric's favorite cut right now. I have liked ribeye. That was my favorite cut for a while, but now it's strip steak.
Sorry. Did you mention, you said you do more like primal movement? Do you do any weightlifting?
So we were at a conference in February, and I just got the message over and over. It's time to start the weightlifting. I am 54 now. But again, I'm scared of it because I had exercise intolerance, and I even tried to exercise my way out of adrenal fatigue before I knew what it was. So I started weight training in February, and I'm taking it real easy, but I have started that regularly. Otherwise, it's a lot of functional fitness and tend to be very active on this property. I was just bike riding out on the trails today, and we walk a lot. So and I do some dancing. It's not, I also work with a youth theater group. I'm one of the directors, and I also do the choreography for that group. So I do some dancing as well.
Awesome. I did show your channel earlier, but I want to invite everybody to please subscribe to JJ and Eric on their channel. Can you just share a little synopsis of the kind of content you upload, and if there's any big announcements or projects coming up that you'd like our audience to know so they could follow you and keep in touch? Sure.
We're husband and wife duo, obviously. We have a great relationship. We have a lot of fun together. We're not doctors or health professionals, so it's light conversation. And my husband is a brilliant creative. He is a novelist, but he also writes music. Now, he doesn't write this music alone. He writes it with AI, but we've got a lot of fun carnivore music clips, including our theme song that he sprinkles throughout. So that's just really cool too. So we release our recorded video on Tuesday. So we dropped one this morning, and we do a live on Friday evenings. And again, just fun conversation with the two of us, lighthearted. We share our experiences, and we love learning from other people as well, learning from our listeners. Now, we don't have any major projects coming up. You never know when Eric's going to drop another song, though. And however, we are headed to Meat Stock in May. So we're excited about that. Nice. So we'll be excited to see a lot of carnivore friends there.
You got your cowboy boots and your cow hat?
I don't have one yet. No. Do you?
I do. And well, I don't have a hat, but I have my boots ready. And you know what I forgot? With exercises, me and you. Yeah, yeehaw. We have to shovel. you know?
Oh
so,
my goodness.
Do the exercise, go to the cold plunges. We live in the cold plunge and we have to.
Yes, we do. Yep.
I watch your channel all the time and I've never seen that music. I'm going to have to go look. I've done a few duets with John at Carnivore Teacher. So we've sung some carnivore duets. I know what you mean, but we do like, they're like parodies, like song parodies of like 60s and 70s songs with carnivore lyrics. I love that you do some, I got to go check those out because I haven't seen those.
Yep. He has, like I said, he does the lyrics, has AI do the rest, but yeah, it's fun. It's fun.
That is fun.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we have a meaty wheel around here that we like to spin so we can hunt down a meaty question for you. So I am bringing that up now. I'm going to give it a spin, JJ, and we're going to find out what question our meaty wheel has for you this evening.
I'm ready.
Here we go. Okay, here we go. How do you handle meal planning and preparation on a carnivore diet? And do you find it challenging or time consuming?
All right. So let me go back to keto days. Eric bounced in and out of the keto diet off and on throughout the years. I played with it a couple times, but didn't see any results, so didn't stick with it. But back when he would do keto or one of his other diet plans, it was a lot of work. It was how many macros? How am I going to add fat to this meal? What are we going to do? What side am I going to put with this? Carnivore, I love it because it is so stinking simple. So I don't really do much meal prep. I really just need to make sure we have enough beef in our freezer. That's the biggest preparation. And we will occasionally do a pot roast or smoke some meat or do a more elaborate thing. And sometimes I actually do want to cook, and that's when I will make the carnivore pancakes or something like that. But it's never a big planning thing. It's just really made shopping and meal preparation super, super simple. So I kind of dodged answering that question.
That's a great answer. I totally agree.
All right. I'm sure that they told you that we do a roar.
Yeah.
All right. Are we ready? Everybody get your roars in the chat and we'll pop them up there. All right. Porter, I need your help. Come here, buddy.
I feel like Lion King. I've been practicing my roar. So yeah.
You want to roar with me? Right. Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Yes.
All right, let's pop those up. Come on, guys. Oh, here they come.
There they come.
They're coming.
Yay. Thanks,
you,
Josephine.
everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Karen. Yay, Cornelia. Thank you, Bruce. And thank you, Mike. Just waiting to see if we have any more roars out there. But while I wait, just if we get any more, we'll pop them up there. And anyways, in the meantime, thank you so much for tuning in this week to Lioness Lifestyle Live. JJ, thank you so much. You don't even know. I've been excited for this since I saw your email come in. I think I even Instagrammed my girls down there and said, you guys, JJ, it's JJ. So you totally made my month in anticipation, and it was no disappointment. Thank you so much. We will be back next week with another great episode. So we'd love to see you back Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific or 8 p.m. Eastern, or translate to your own time zone. Until then, goodbye, everybody.
Bye. Good night.
Bye.